Hi, Paul here, also known as Mr. T. That might get a bit confusing, so I'll stick with Paul. I'm here to share with you a little tip for assessment, using some apps that will give you some really rich data but also make it engaging for your pupils. It's not that I don't value assessment, it's not that I don't think it's worth it. My biggest bugbear is the fact that it's the time-consuming element when it comes to marking those tests on a weekly basis. Things like arithmetic, spellings, times tables, spag tests. If all of those take around about half an hour to 45 minutes, you're talking anywhere 2 hours plus a week on marking tests. And then what do you do with the data and how do you analyse the data? So what I'm about to share with you will hopefully make it a bit more engaging for your children with a bit of competitive element, but also will give you quite an important breakdown of the questions, the responses, if you've got any weaknesses across the class that you might need to work on as a whole. And that is using an app called Quizizz. So one reason that I love Quizizz is that it is free to download, and it's available on Android and iOS. I also love that you don't need the app to play it. You can play it in the browser, which is what my class do when we start to play Quizizz, and we play it quite regularly, maybe 2-3 times a week, just to practice basic skills and times tables. So the first thing that you need to do is to sign up. All you need is an email address, and it's totally and utterly free. If you have a Gmail account, you can do the quick sign in using the Google sign in, and it takes you straight in. Then once you're inside, you will be faced with this page, and the first thing to do is you can search for a quiz that has already been pre-made, and you can browse through those quizzes there and see what other people have done. Now my advice on this would be to be careful, because there have been 1 or 2 times where people have made these quizzes and the answers have been wrong, so just have a quick check first to see if the answers are right, but also to see if the questions meet your needs. So it's always good to check first. Or if you prefer, you can make your own quiz just by tapping this button here. Once you tap this button, you will need to give your quiz a name. And you can add a quiz image as well to make it slightly more appealing. I don't usually do this. And then you'll be faced with this page here. First place to start is to create a new question just by tapping this button here, and then quite simply type in your question and the 4 answers that you wish to give. So I always do one that might be a plus, one that's a close times table, and then just a random one. And if you hit save, but do not forget to choose the right answer. That is obviously highly important. And then you can just repeat the process. So just go through the same thing again. Insert your question, put your answers in, tick the correct answer, choose other answers which may be tricky or may be quite easy depending on where your class are and how you feel you want to challenge them, and hit save again. So one of my favourite features is the ability to import from other quizzes to save you time creating questions. So you can simply type in mixed multiplication quizzes or whatever quiz it is, then you can search through other quizzes. So you can look at them first to make sure they're appropriate. And then as you can see, all I'm doing is I'm tapping on the side of the question that I want to add, and it's adding it to my quiz, which saves a lot of time. That's also important, that it doesn't take long to make these and that the children will enjoy them, but also you will get something from it. So very quickly I'm just adding in all the questions that I need to be added into my quiz. Then I'm just going to quickly check the quiz just to make sure that I have enough questions. So I've got 12 questions altogether. Have a quick check of the answers just to make sure that I'm happy that they are all the right answers. and when you are done, you simply need to click the finish quiz button. You then need to quickly fill in what year group it is, what the subject is, and any topic that is in the subject. This just makes it easier for people to follow and find quizzes, and then you can share it with any other teachers. So you will then come to this screen, which is your quiz screen, and you have the options here to play a live game, homework game, or a solo game. These games are often played better live, but they can be set for homework, which is good. So all you need to do is hit proceed, and your children will be directed to join this website or use the app and input this code. And all they do is quickly log on, and you will see the list of the names that appear there. So there's the first person to join in, and there's the second person to join in. And then when you've got the right amount of players, simply hit start, and this is the teacher dashboard. Now, there are a few reasons why I love this app for tests and quizzes. It's because of a number of reasons, but one of the main reasons is the children don't need to see the board, so they can see the answers that they're pressing. They get all the answers, and the questions appear on their iPad, so if they can't see the screen, they aren't at any kind, they aren't being penalised. What I also like is it doesn't necessarily hand out the most points for speed. Speed will get you slightly more points, but as you can see from the game that's being played now, if you get more answers right, then you will move to the top. So one person could be slightly slower, but taking their time, making sure they get all the answers, and it rewards the most answers that are correct rather than the most amount of answers which are answered the fastest. So this game will just play out right to the end, and you will be able to see in real time how the class is doing. So scores will change and you will be able to see them. You also have the option to click on the question button at the top, and that will show you the questions being answered in real time also. And then when you're ready, you simply hit end game just at the top. It's also good because the bar you can see just above where it says leaderboard, you have the amount of right answers and the amount of wrong answers, and it will tell you the overall class accuracy, which is always good to know. So that's quite a nice feature as well. I do like the amount of information that you get in real time while this quiz is going on. I think that's a really nice feature. I think that's something that you don't get when you play Kahoot, although I do love Kahoot because it makes it really competitive, but you just don't get the amount of in-game stats as you do here. So I've clicked end game. There's all the questions. You can see how many have been answered incorrect. Simply hit end game. So once the game is ended, you get the stats board where you see an overview of the children in your class and the questions that they've answered right. You can see a breakdown of the questions and how many of the questions were answered right and which questions were incorrect. And if you click on the top, the green button that says review questions, you can go through all the questions. You can see that on the dashboard, so you can see who got them right, how many got them wrong, etc. Or the best bit, if you hit download Excel, it will save everything into an Excel spreadsheet and give you a much more detailed breakdown for use of where you go next with your planning and what areas you need to address. And that is a quick overview of the app called Quizizz. It's very easy to use, it's very quick to make the quizzes, it's free, children love it. The children don't need to see the screen. There's lots and lots of detailed in-game data, and of course there's a detailed outlay of the questions with areas of weakness to work on afterwards. It's definitely worth a try. I highly recommend it. Thanks for watching. I hope you find that useful.